I'm Joe White. Welcome to the Grow Real Estate Investing Podcast. We're going to do a slight shift today. Typically these videos are designed as real estate investing how-to guides. My idea being to provide a free, ever-expanding, and ever-evolving real estate investing course. A resource where a new real estate investor or an experienced real estate investor can use to invest in property successfully. And typically with this material, where you do your property investing doesn't matter. These techniques are fairly universal. They aren't unique or new strategies created by me. Everything I teach are basically the strategies that have been around for some time, in some cases thousands of years. But I also own a Philadelphia property management company called Grow Property Management. And today I'm going to focus just on the Philadelphia market and just on a specific snapshot in time. Today we're going to look at the third quarter financial of 2020. If you own a home or if you want to own a home in Philadelphia, this podcast is for you. It doesn't matter if the property is for your family, live space, or if you want to buy a property as a real estate investor. It doesn't matter if it's home ownership or property investing. You will want to buy in an appreciating Philadelphia neighborhood. Even when buying your family home, you're not only buying a property, you are buying a wealth generator. And some Philadelphia neighborhoods are appreciating and creating far more wealth than other Philadelphia neighborhoods. So we're going to look at this year's 2020 quarter numbers, comparing it to last year's 2019 third quarter numbers. We're going to use these numbers to begin creating a picture of what Philadelphia neighborhoods are appreciating. And we're going to identify the Philadelphia neighborhoods that are likely going to continue appreciating. We're doing that so you can buy in these neighborhoods and greatly accelerate your wealth, your real estate investing with the benefit of locational equity increases. We're also trying to identify the Philadelphia neighborhoods that are slowing in appreciation so you can time the sale of a property to get the most you can. And we're also trying to identify the Philadelphia neighborhoods that are poised to depreciate or the Philadelphia neighborhoods that will appreciate too slowly so you can decide if you should sell and reposition the equity into a better appreciating neighborhood. But before I get in trouble, I'm not a licensed financial advisor, an accountant, nor an attorney. I'm just a Philadelphia investor and someone that owns a Philadelphia property management company. This information is just my opinion. I use this Philadelphia Neighborhood Appreciation Watch to advise myself as I invest, and I also share my opinion with the rental property owners that we manage properties for. And I hope you find it helpful as well. Please try to draw your own conclusions. Your opinion might be far better than mine. If you do have a thought, please take the time to share it here. This is a real estate investing community, and we all advance together. The best videos I have are the ones where a dialogue gets created. The comments sometimes being more valuable than my actual video. So please speak up. All right, moving forward. Determining appreciating neighborhoods isn't straightforward, nor is it precise. How I'm doing it here is by comparing last year's median home prices compared to this year's median home prices within each postal code. Median meaning the middle number and not the average number, as you may already know. I'm also interested in how much that median home price is, how many days on the market a property sits before it sells, and how many homes are available compared to last year. In real estate, we call that inventory. Excuse me. Plus, I'm injecting my boots on the ground here. My company manages many properties here in Philadelphia, and we do it in a variety of different neighborhoods. We manage properties in Philadelphia's most expensive neighborhoods and also the up-and-coming neighborhoods. And that does give me an advantage. And if you are a Philadelphia resident or a Philadelphia real estate investor, you also have boots on the ground experience. You see neighborhoods firsthand. You see the signs of that a neighborhood is appreciating, and you also see the signs when a Philadelphia neighborhood is depreciating. But determining if a neighborhood will appreciate in the future isn't exactly an exact science. But tracking yearly changes each financial quarter, and that's what we're going to do, does begin creating a picture of the Philadelphia marketplace. All right, so here are the Philadelphia neighborhood appreciations of 2020 in the third quarter. With 49 Philadelphia postal codes, we easily have the diversity to run a spectrum in the marketplace, and we're definitely seeing that this quarter. We have neighborhoods with median home prices that appreciated within the year as much as 78.3%. And we also have neighborhoods that depreciated, with the lowest going all the way down by minus 21.5%. Meaning if you bought two properties, each for $100,000, and you bought them in each of these two extremes in neighborhoods, one of the houses you bought for $100,000 a year ago would be worth $178,300. And you would now have $78,300 in additional equity. If you sold that property, you would get an additional $78,300. And in the neighborhood that went down, your $100,000 purchase would, in theory, now only be worth $78,500. If you sold the house today, a year later, you might have lost $21,500. But as a whole, Philadelphia still clearly has a rising market. But what we're seeing is somewhat consistent with what I expected to see given where we are in the national economy. I feel as many do that we have been in a recession for a while now, and the market just hasn't realized it yet. People are still spending because they are still not afraid. Even someone like myself who intellectually believes we're in a recession is still spending, because I haven't emotionally adopted that just yet. My emotional spending behavior hasn't caught up with my brain, with what I know. And people like me are still driving prices up in many neighborhoods, but not all. What I see here in the Philadelphia real estate marketplace is almost what we would expect. The more sophisticated neighborhoods are going down in their median home prices. Home buying in those neighborhoods is stopping. Why? Because these home buyers know more than perhaps you and I do. Theory is they realize that we are in a recession, or that one is coming, and they don't want to pay too much for a home that is about to be worth much less. And a down market, prices and property values go way down. And the numbers are showing that affluent, established neighborhoods like Fitler Square, Rittenhouse Square, and Washington Square are way down. Fitler Square median home sales went down a big 20.8%. And its neighbor Logan Circle in Rittenhouse Square went down by negative 21.5% as well. If, let's say, you're a home flipper and you bought a home last year in Fitler Square, you renovated it, and you were able to sell it, you probably lost 21% profit on the locational depreciation. You might have made a profit from forcing the property to appreciate through your smart strategic improvements, but you still lost that 21% locational appreciation you could have had otherwise in a different neighborhood. Remember, there are many ways to profit in real estate investing. Improvements are one strategy, and locational appreciation is another. The goal here is to use multiple strategies concurrently. Given those numbers, it would be my guess is that you just broke even on your flip, or you maybe made a slight profit. And this is consistent with what we're seeing nationally. Very affluent, wealthier neighborhoods like Georgetown are always the first to slow down. When these areas slow in growth, that is one of the metrics to use to identify a recession has begun. I'm calling these sophisticated neighborhoods and sophisticated buyers. And I understand that suggests that those of us, not in these areas or of a lesser financial sophistication. And honestly, I apologize if it offends anyone, but I live in the Philadelphia Pennsport neighborhood, and I classify myself as a fairly educated property buyer, but I know myself, and I am not always a sophisticated buyer. I know real estate investing very well, but my buying behavior outside of real estate tends to be more emotional than it ideally could be. So I apologize for my choice of terms and lumping you into my food is love and I buy gadgets whenever I feel mentally sad dysfunctions. But what is nice about Philadelphia is that we have so many postal codes in neighborhoods that we can get even more information when we look at neighborhoods that I feel have plenty of money, but maybe not as sophisticated as, say, a Rittenhouse Square. Old City, for example, in the 19106 postal code, in the neighborhoods that are in the 19147 postal codes are perfect examples. Old City is a surprise to me, seeing this quarter's numbers. They also went into the negative. What surprised me is that while I expected its numbers to have appreciated less than many other Philadelphia neighborhoods, I still expected it to go up this quarter. I didn't expect it to go down. I expected it to go up because there is plenty of money going to Old City. It is an affluent Philadelphia neighborhood, but I don't think it's as sophisticated of a buyer as the older, more established neighborhoods. It has a very decent medium home price of $410,500. And it's also important to note that there are plenty of very small 1 to 2 bedroom loft condos in there. Old City has an extremely high price per square foot. So that median home price number is a lot more impressive than it sounds. But Old City doesn't tend to make its decisions the way a Fitler Square or a Rittenhouse Square or a Georgetown does. It's a very hip neighborhood that comes with a lifestyle. Restaurants, nightlifes, parks, but what we're seeing here is Old City is showing some real estate buying intelligence in their numbers this quarter, coming in at a negative 5.6 reduction. If you bought an Old City a year ago, we might see your property worth 5.6% less. And now the 19147 postal code metrics weren't as much of a surprise to me. 19147 has some of Philadelphia's most expensive neighborhoods. To note, it's the Society Hill neighborhood. And that can be likened to very similar to Georgetown or Philadelphia's affluent Fitler Square or Rittenhouse Square neighborhoods. But the numbers are skewed because 19147 has a multitude of different neighborhoods, each with a different diversity. Not a huge diversity, but 19147 goes from Philadelphia's wealthiest neighborhood down to respectable, but still just upper, middle class neighborhoods. Neighborhoods like Hawthorne, Bella Vista, Queen Village, the Italian Market, and even parts of Pennsport, my neighborhood, are all comprising the 19147 numbers. So the 19147 metrics are lower than where I expected, coming in at being up just 7.3%. Excuse me. Also showing, a property buying intelligence. If you invested in these neighborhoods, it's all fine. These are all extremely stable neighborhoods. Philadelphia in general is far, far more stable with our real estate markets compared to the rest of the nation. And these numbers are very short-sighted. A year does not make a real estate investment, especially buy and hold real estate investment. But if your strategy is to sell your home, buy a new home, or reuse equity from one property to the next, and I hope it is, then these next Philadelphia neighborhoods are the ones that paid their owners extremely well in additional equity. And they might continue paying extremely well. Obviously, the smart assumption is that the recession is going to knock the living equity out of these in all neighborhoods during the coming downturn. But then these will be the likely neighborhoods that will rebound the best. And when the downturn begins its upward journey to an up economic market again, these are the properties that are going to come first. Just a quick FYI, in 2008, when we had a much more heavily impacted downturn, Philadelphia still fared very well. In fact, the Chestnut Hill neighborhood continued to appreciate through the entire downturn, even though our national economic situation got just slammed. Desirability being a neighborhood that people really want to live in is somewhat recession resistant. But here's the Philadelphia neighborhoods that are appreciating most. Excuse me. It appears the equity is currently West Philadelphia board and raised this year. Postal codes like 19131 and 19139, they've just exploded. And we see Winfield and West Park at the top of the list with a 78.3% equity increase. And the West Philadelphia West Market areas coming in slightly lower at 75.5% increase. And then we've got North Philadelphia East, the 19133 postal code, which is bordered by Kensington, Fishtown, and Port Richmond, came in with a power number of 70% itself. And now that kind of makes sense because it's touching extremely desirable and lifestyle kind of powerhouse neighborhoods like Fishtown, and it creates an overflow as these people ever expand into Kensington and Port Richmond. Port Richmond comes in second on our list, a 75.5% increase on the median home price. My wife Lori and I bought a rental property here last year. Excuse me. and we're just now getting to be able to renovate it. We've inherited a tenant that finally moved out, and hopefully just in time for us to get the renovation done and make the property all new again so we can refinance it before the official downturn in property values plummet. Okay, what I see overall here is that the Philadelphia neighborhoods that rely just on long-established, well-footed wealth are going down. Should you buy a home in one of these affluent neighborhoods? I mean, maybe, it looks like you might get a 20% discount. Certainly more information from the next quarter might advise you better either way. The other dynamic I think that I see is the power of livability. Market aside, do people want to live there? One thing I always ask myself before I invest in a neighborhood that appears really set to appreciate is, does it deserve it? Why? Because I want to know if it can sustain its growth. My wife and I are, we want to hold a property as long as we can. We want to hold it indefinitely, ideally. We rather not buy in a neighborhood that aggressively appreciates over 5 years. Then we have to sell it before the neighborhood begins to appreciate it. Selling property is very expensive. Holding a property, you avoid paying extremely costly capital gain tax on the sale. For example, of a Philadelphia neighborhood I think about a lot is Point Breeze. It's a Philadelphia neighborhood that has had aggressive ups and downs. Every 10 or 12 years or so, it quickly appreciates or slowly heads way down. In my opinion, why does Point Breeze deserve home buyers? It has wider than expected